Hello everyone, this is Bertina Amy and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a DIY Dollar Tree painting, which is also budget friendly, but you can use any supplies that you wish. The supplies used today will also be in the description box below. Today's painting is inspired by Valentine's Day, where we are just going to be painting this beautiful, lovely single rose. Even if you're single yourself, you are more than welcome to still participate. Don't feel like just because you're single, you don't have to enjoy Valentine's Day. Make sure you show love to yourself as well. So go ahead and paint yourself a single rose or paint it for your best friend. So I'm starting out with this 8x10 Dollar Tree canvas board by Crafter's Square, and after removing the wrapping, I noticed this ugly discoloration towards the top or the bottom, depending on the direction you have it, in my case the top, and I decided that I wanted a black background and decided to use my black chalk paint to cover the entire surface of it. You also can use any color for the background that you'd like. Could be white or black or blue, gray, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be chalk paint, could just be any paint that you have lying around. I decided to use black just to help cover up that area, and also because I have a lot of black. So once you finish covering the entire surface, make sure you give it time to dry before you start the next step. I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part of the process a little bit. If you are going to paint the entire background, make sure to let it dry completely before the next step. So the next step is to trace your template onto the canvas board. And the way I'm doing it is I'm using carbon paper and with the shiny side down. And the other option is if you don't have carbon paper or don't want to spend money or can't spend money on carbon paper, you could take a straight blank sheet of paper, color it completely with pencil, and place that face down as well onto your canvas board and use that as your carbon paper. And make sure to trace the template completely or as much as you'd like, because you can also exclude things like I'm going to do. I personally don't care for the larger leaf on this one on the left side of this rose, so I'm choosing to opting to not include it at all. I'm just totally ignoring it. Feel free to use that same method, or maybe you want to trace over the template as is, or you can decide to take the template and try to place it on top on the other side. Take the one leaf and try to place it on the other side so that you could have two leaves on this specific rose. Better yet, if you don't have carbon paper, instead of getting a spare sheet of paper and covering it completely with pencil, just take this template and cover the back of it, and make sure to cover the entire area of where the rose and any part that you're planning on tracing, cover those entire areas completely. Don't worry about completely covering the entire sheet on the back, because you're not going to be tracing over those areas anyways. Just focus on the areas of where you're planning on tracing. I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part of the process a little bit. So once you're done tracing, my next step was to go over the lines with white gel pen, because I found out, or I noticed, that the carbon copy that I made, it was really hard to see even on my end in the lighting. And so I decided to use white gel pen, and I'll be honest, I don't know that it turned out perfectly. I don't know that I captured all the lines perfectly like in the template. In retrospect, I probably should have just hand drawn this or something instead, but I wanted to do this DIY so that anyone, regardless of skill, can actually go ahead and make one as well. If you choose to do a background that is lighter in color, then your markings should show very clearly. It's just that black being so dark, it's really hard to see the copy once you're tracing, or even if it is pencil, you might not be able to see it unless it shines. So just do the best you can and try not to judge your work so harshly, and try to appreciate the beauty of the process and the beauty of the creation that you make when you're done. Also, I wanted to use black as a background because I wanted to challenge myself about painting on top of a black background, and I had an idea for this particular painting, which I'll discuss further in. I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part of the process a little bit. So once you finish tracing and outlining your tracing template or the outline of the rose rather, go ahead and start deciding on what color you want your background to be. For this particular project, I decided because I'm doing dark, I like the idea of a rose in like a midnight sky. I'm thinking of it being magical, and I'm thinking like I want it like kind of floating in the air. If you don't want it floating in the air, you can add grass below it. But in this particular case, I was debating between kind of doing a rose and a cloche. But I discussed it with my husband, and he thought the idea of just having, well, you'll see later how I decide to end or finalize my painting. But I still wanted it in the midnight sky. So what I decided to do was I had this really pretty metallic blue, which I'll link on the description box below. And I decided to water it down because I didn't want it completely covering the black. I wanted it to be kind of a mixed color of like blue and black, so like it's like night sky. And so what you'll see me doing here is first off, I watered it down, and then as I'm painting the background, I'm avoiding the rose as best as I can, but I'm just coming close to the rose outline. And what I'm trying to do is trying to have areas where it's more black, some areas that are more blue. And then I realized that the metallic paint was still so shiny, even with it being watered down, that I had to go back in with watered down black paint instead. And that way I could just tone it back some and not have it be super shiny. If you like it better with a metallic look, or more so with it being more shiny than I did, you're of course welcome to do it the way you want to. It's totally customizable. I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part of the process a little bit. So in this next step, I go ahead and start painting the green stems and the leaves, and I decided to purposefully water down my acrylic paints for this because I didn't want solid tones. I wanted variation in tones so that it looks like there's a little more depth, like there's shadows and things like that. Even if it's unnatural, I don't want it to all be the same color or same shade, if you will. So I go ahead and do that for the flower petals as well, because I wanted the same appearance. And since I'm thinking about this as though I'm looking at it in the dark, I knew it wasn't supposed to be a nice, bright, vibrant color. So you are also welcome to do the same thing. You can totally customize this to your liking as well. You'll notice that while I painted the rose petals, that I went ahead and went over the white lines I created with the gel marker or the gel pen, white pen. And that is because honestly, those little tiny details with the current paintbrush I was using, it was impossible to not go ahead and paint over them. And honestly, I wasn't too worried about it because I knew I was going to trace over it anyways or outline the whole thing anyways once I was done with the painting. I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part of the process a little bit. And here you can see that I'm going ahead and toning down that metallic blue with watered down black paint, and I'm going to cover the entire background surface behind the rose. And I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part of the process as well. I went ahead and let this dry for some time, and then once it was completely dry, I went ahead and took a silver Sharpie to trace over the entire rose outline. I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part of the process a little bit. So I noticed in my painting after I finished tracing the outline of the rose that there seemed to have been what looks like a water drop towards the bottom of the painting. If this happens to you any part of your painting, the way that you could fix that is just take some water that's not, make sure your paintbrush is totally clean and dip it in some water and just wipe around that area, just like you're brushing on some actual paint so that it'll actually cover up that water drop. So that's what I'll end up doing here. And then you can go ahead and move on to the next step. hopefully at this point too, you've actually saved your template initially from doing the rose outline. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut around the template so that I could use it as a cover over my red rose. The last step is to go ahead and take that old template that you used and to cut around it if you're following my instructions or the way I'm painting mine. And I'm placing mine over top the rose itself, and then I'm taking this antique white paint that I have on hand and I'm using that to splatter all over my painting surrounding the rose. And to me, at the end, it looks like it was intended to be more like stars, but it looks more like little lightning bugs instead. And I think it turned out really magical looking. What do you think? I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part of the process a little bit. My apologies, I totally forgot to mention earlier this video that I am offering a discount off of the template that's in my Etsy shop for this video. The discount code will be 75% off of the regular listing price, which will show up at the end of this video. I think this painting turned out so magical. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you made it this far in the video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more. And I really appreciate all comments, likes, and subscribes. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!